Hey guys, welcome to another review, and here's my review for Horizon, an American Saga, Chapter 1. This movie is directed by Kevin Costner, and it stars Kevin Costner, and it stars Sam Worthington, uh, and it has Luke Wilson, Abby Lee, and Jenna Malin. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, and it's about the whole Civil War that happened in the late 1850s or early 1860s. It's about a family, and it's about the story of the Native Americans and all that back in like the late 50s, early 60s, and so yeah. I went and saw this movie today, and I was not fond of this movie. I was really bored by this movie. I thought the first hour of the movie was pretty good. I thought the first hour of this movie was good. I actually thought it was great because I know this movie has not been getting, because last time I checked on Rotten Tomatoes, it got 48%. And when I first saw the first hour, I was like, why do critics not like this? Why are they giving it a bad score? 48%? Why? And then after an hour, I was like, okay, yep, I get why. This movie's boring. It's a boring movie. It's a very boring movie. I was really bored by this. I thought this movie actually looked pretty good because it's a historical western, and I thought it actually looked pretty good. I mean, Kevin Costner, he's a great director, a great actor. I mean, Kevin Costner was great in this movie. He did a great performance and great directing. This movie had really great cinematography as well, and really great camera angles. And it had some good action scenes. It had some really good action scenes, good shooting scenes, and it had the first hour was great. But this movie bit off way more than I could chew. There was just too much happening. There wasn't, well, not even too much happening. There wasn't much happening. It bit off way more than I could chew. And this movie was very, very long. It was 3 hours, and I remember after an hour, I was starting to get really, really bored. And by the end, I was just sitting there, just bored out of my mind. And this is probably one of the most boring movies I've seen in years. This movie was insanely boring. But I will say it did have some good acting. Sam Worthington, he was great in this movie, and so was Kevin Costner, and I mean, they were probably the best parts. I mean, it did have some good acting, some good performances, and some good camera angles as well, and it also had some good music in it too. Like the musical score, I guess, was fine. In some scenes, the singing in the end credits was great though. But other than that, this movie didn't do it for me. I thought it looked like a good movie, and I actually had an open mind of seeing this. I didn't really know what it was about. Didn't watch any of the trailers, and so I actually went into the movie with an open mind, and I just left it, and I was so bored. I know it came out a few weeks ago, and this movie has bombed really bad, I've heard. And I heard they might be, they're going to postpone or maybe even cancel part 2. I heard they might cancel or postpone chapter 2, and so, yeah. And I can understand why. I don't even know. I mean, I guess I'll go see it if it comes out. I mean, I hear it's going to be a little bit less than the first one. I don't know. Maybe it might be 20 minutes less than the first one, but I don't know. I hear they're going to be, this movie's actually going to be split into 4 chapters, and, God, this movie is just, I could barely get to this first one. I mean, I didn't hate this movie. It was just really, really boring, and it's just really, really boring. I mean, I wouldn't say it's definitely not the worst movie of the year, because there's been a few movies like Madam Web. Oh God, that was the worst movie of the year so far. But movies like that movie was like more irritating and all that and just cringy. This movie, on the other hand, is just really, really boring. And it's just, I don't know. Maybe it might make my top 10 worst movies of the year. I don't know. But as of now, it's just, I don't even really know. I just was really, really bored by this movie. And I do feel bad for Kevin Costner because he made a lot of work for all these movies, for all the other movies coming up. But it just didn't do it for me. This movie should have been made as a mini series, or like maybe he could have just made it into a TV show or something. I don't know, but this movie bit off more than I could chew. It was too long, too much. It's like just too long. I thought the first hour felt like it actually had a story, but then afterwards, I just felt like just nothing else was happening. There wasn't really any action afterwards. Like the first hour had some action, had a good amount of action. But afterwards, it just started to fall apart. This movie was so much longer than it needed to be. Way longer than it needed to be. Like, after watching, like, when I was watching the first hour, I was actually sitting there enjoying the movie. I was like, I like this movie. It's really good. But then I'm like, yeah, this movie was just boring. I can't say I hated it. It wasn't trash. It was just really boring. And I'm probably going to forget about this movie. And I don't know when Chapter 2 is coming out, or even if it's coming out, or maybe, I don't know for sure if they're postponing it. I heard on an article today, actually, that they might postpone it, or they may even cancel it. Who the hell knows? But I just was sitting there. I was so darn bored. I was so damn bored just watching it. And so, yeah, I don't know. But I do feel bad because Kevin Costner did do, like, I heard he worked hard for these movies, but just, I don't know, way too long, didn't do it for me. I know another YouTuber I watched who liked this movie. A YouTuber I watched enjoyed this movie, but I was bored by it. I couldn't get into it. I couldn't get into it. I was bored, like, after hour, it just got really boring. And, yeah, there wasn't much happening. Like, it just was this movie was absolutely slow-paced. Slow-paced, not much story happening after an hour, just the same scenes happening after scene. But it did have good acting, as I said earlier. It did have some redeeming qualities. It did have good acting. The camera angles were great. The camera angles were great. It's shot really nice, and really nice cinematography. And I did like some of the gun shooting scenes are also really great, and the action scenes. And it is like the first hour is I like the historical plot, like the first hour, but everything else is just boring after that. So yeah. Anyway, not a fan of this movie. Didn't do it for me. So yeah, I didn't really care for this movie. I'm gonna give Horizon and American Saga Chapter 1 a D+. Yeah. Just was not into this movie. Couldn't get into it. I tried to get into it, and it got really boring watching it. I was just sitting there like it was just like, I even got up a few times. I was just really bored by it. And so, yeah. Horizon and American Saga. So, yeah, did you guys see this? What were your thoughts on it? Did you enjoy this movie? I'm glad if you enjoyed it. I'm glad you liked it. I was just really bored by it, and so yeah. Anyway, what did you think about this movie? Comment below. Let me know. And if you like this, please subscribe to my channel and hit that like. All right, later.